I call the member for Greenway.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. And to get back to the real world, it is abundantly clear that this government would like us to think that somehow there have been no cuts to the ABC in this budget. Well, they would be the only ones, and they would be denying what is actually in their own MyEFO and actually page 79 of budget paper number 2. But if they wish to deny that these are cuts, we are very happy. We are very happy for them to go out and keep telling the Australian public that there are no cuts to the ABC, because Australians know full well that in 2013, and ever since this government was elected, in 2013 we had then Prime Minister Abbott look down the barrel of a camera the night before the federal election and explicitly promise no cuts to the ABC. And we know that it was the now Prime Minister, when he was Communications Minister, who then presided over $250 million in cuts at the very first budget in 2014. So if those opposite want to deny that this happened, they want to deny that somehow in their own MyEFO, they want to deny somehow that they had their own cuts, then please, they can be my guest. They can be my guest. Because not only are they treating the Australian public as mugs on the policy front of the ABC and how important it is, they're treating the Australian people as mugs for denying that a pause in indexation is actually a cut. It is actually a cut. So what are they saying? Are they saying that Michelle Guthrie is wrong? Are they saying that Justin Milne is wrong? They're saying yes. So clearly they know more than those who are running the ABC themselves. Clearly, absolutely, he says, clearly they know more. So, Mr Deputy Speaker, we know that this government, it does take some gall in denying that there are cuts, and you only have to look. This is really in keeping within the vein of the current Communications Minister, because he put out a release on budget night, and including, this budget was about cutting, amongst other things, cutting the ABC, but he put out a media release, and the media release was called Strengthening Australia's Connectivity, Creativity and Cultural Heritage. So that's how you do it. That's how you strengthen Australia's connectivity, creativity and cultural heritage. That's by making cuts to the ABC is how you achieve it. It's right up there. It's right up there with the media release the NBN put out the day that they announced the HFC was being paused, because they put out a media release saying taking the customer experience to new heights, to new levels of customer experience. But that's okay. We're very happy to acknowledge the Orwellian doublespeak of this government. But the reality is, Mr Deputy Speaker, that cuts do have consequences. The hundreds of staff jobs that have been lost, shortwave radio being shut down, the drop in drama, the drop in documentaries, but I think more than anything, the attitude of this government when it comes to the ABC will come back to bite them, because they are so out of touch, they think that somehow it's only Labor people, only Labor voters who support the ABC. Well, I can tell them this. This is an issue that goes across demographics, it goes across geography, and it goes across political parties. So if this government wants to not only deny that there have been cuts, but justify these cuts to the ABC, be our guest, because the reality is that the ABC is a trusted brand right across Australia. 83% of Australians value their ABC. And if you want to talk about these cuts, have a look at some of the polling that has been done specifically about these cuts in the budget. The Australia Institute found that 58% oppose cuts to the ABC. 58%. But you only also have to look, Mr Deputy Speaker. Essential polling went through a number of line items. One of them, cutting spending on the ABC. Total oppose, 45%. So it's not as though these numbers are somehow an aberration. They are real. And I'll end on this point, Mr Deputy Speaker, that again, if these people somehow think that the Australian people are going to fall for what they have peddled in terms of saying no cuts to the ABC and just carrying on with licence, then they won't wear it. This reminds me exactly of the movement, the grassroots movement, when those opposite wanted to repeal Section 18C of the Racial Discrimination Act. We had a grassroots movement that stood up to them, and we won and will win again.